It is a wonderful 4th of July morning, and if it's Sunday, this must be Faith Matters, where we talk about faith, because after all, faith matters! I'm sorry. This isn't me. This is them. They insist on doing it. What can I do? What can I do?
No, that's right.
Yeah, that's right.
You're all well trained.
Everybody's well trained. So this morning, our great and good friend Father Vince is with us. He's also our preacher this morning, which is a wonderful thing. You're wondering perhaps where Father Chris is. Father Chris is actually doing supply down the road at one of our sister parishes, St. Timothy's, who is without clergy at the moment. So we are sharing of our abundant blessings here at Epiphany and sending one of our own off to preach the gospel to another church, which is a good thing. Before we dig into this morning's session, I want to give you all kind of a preview of coming attractions. This coming Saturday, we are going to, in our church and broadcast online, we're going to do a litany of grief and healing. And it goes something like this. COVID has impacted us. Do we agree COVID has impacted us?
Yes.
And COVID has impacted us in ways both that we see and ways we probably don't see. And so this litany is specifically written to give us an opportunity to bring that grief out, to name it and to claim it and to raise it up to God. And then in place of a sermon, we will have an opportunity to share our COVID stories with one another. We are people at Epiphany who share stories. That is part and parcel of who we are. That is part of our vision for the future, is we are sharers of stories. We are givers of stories and we are receivers of stories. So we will take that time and we will give up our sermon time, because y'all are tired of listening to us crazy clergy, and share our stories with one another. Then we'll transition to prayers for healing, for our world, for our nation, for our church, for ourselves, and then segue into a communion service where we will come together as God's people. We will be fed, we will be healed, and then we will go back into the world. It should be a beautiful experience. That is this coming Saturday at 4:30 p.m. Right here and right here. All right, commercial over. Moving on. This forum, Faith Matters, is a guided exploration of our gospel. And this morning's gospel is from Mark. Let me give that to you. Jesus came to his hometown, and his disciples followed him. On the Sabbath, he began to teach in the synagogue, and many who heard him were astounded. They said, "Where did this man get all this? What is this wisdom that has been given to him? What deeds of power are being done by his hands? Is not this the carpenter, the son of Mary, and brother of James and Joses and Judas and Simon? And are not his sisters here with us?" And they took offense at him. Then Jesus said to them, "Prophets are not without honor, except in their hometown, and among their own kin, and in their own house." And he could do no deed of power there, except he laid his hands on a few sick people and cured them. And he was amazed at their unbelief. Then he went out among the villages teaching. He called the 12 and began to send them out 2 by 2, and gave them authority over the unclean spirits. He ordered them to take nothing for their journey except a staff, no bread, no bag, no money in their belts, but to wear sandals and not to put on 2 tunics. He said to them, "Wherever you enter a house, stay there until you leave the place. If any place will not welcome you, and they refuse to hear you, as you leave, shake off the dust that is on your feet as a testimony against them." So they went out and proclaimed that all should repent. They cast out many demons and anointed with oil many who were sick and cured them. So what did you hear? What challenged you? What attracted you? What kind of repelled you? Marcia.
Well, it kind of
loudly.
answered the question that we kind of visited before about Jesus and having brothers and sisters, because Mark says he's the son of Mary, he's the brother of these people, and his sisters are here with us.
Mhm.
So that kind of answered that question.
Yeah, that did. I was like, yep, answer.
And they're like the Partridge Family. There's a lot of
There's
them.
They had a lot of kids back then.
I have
Carol.
never heard of Joseph before.
No. Right.
J-O-S-E, I've never heard
Yep.
of him.
Joseph. Yeah.
Well, and you hear about James because he's
Right.
Right.
Or hostess. Hostess. How'd they say it? In Israeli.
there's any number of different ways it could be.
Mm.
I mean, we call him Jesus, but in some of it it's Yeshua.
Yeah.
So you have to be a little careful holding too tightly to names,
Right.
because they're sort of fungible.
I've walked around in the old city of Nazareth, and it is really teeny. The original, they don't even have sewers. You just do your business in the street. But the point I'm trying to make is,
Could have been okay not knowing that.
Thank God
the
for
point I'm trying to make is this town was so small that probably not a single person in that town didn't know him well from the time he was a little kid.
Without question, yeah.
And that would naturally cause them to discount, this kid who everybody knew.
Right.
Preaching.
Who does he think he is?
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
He was just a carpenter.
We knew him when he was in diapers.
Right.
Right?
And that he
Yeah.
wasn't from a prestigious family. He was a
He's-
carpenter's son, so he was a blue-collar guy, right?
Right.
And that he was doing all these things, right?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Rosalie.
Go ahead, Rosalie.
They didn't accept him.
Okay.
What made him think they were going to accept the apostles?
Oh.
So was he sending them out to do a thankless job?
Well, they were in Nazareth where he was from, but he sent them out to other places.
Where they didn't know him. Somewhere else. Yeah.
Gary has
Yeah.
his hand up.
Yeah.
Sorry, I can't see you back there,
Yeah.
Gary. Yes, sir.
Okay. One of the things that jumped out at me wasn't what it said, it's what it did not say.
Okay.
Son of Mary, not son of Joseph.
Right.
Was that a reference to maybe his illegitimate birth, or what they considered his illegitimate birth that they may have known about in a small town?
He's
Interesting.
Jewish.
Yeah,
Maybe
yeah.
normally wouldn't they say son of Joseph,
Yeah.
son of the carpenter Joseph?
So one of the interesting things about the parentage story of Jesus, we know Joseph is not his father, but to all intents and purposes, to the rest of the world, Joseph was indeed his father. Because otherwise, Mary would have been an unwed teenage mother, and that didn't go over terribly well back then. She likely would have been stoned to death, and Jesus would never have been born. So he was known as the son of Joseph and Mary. The fact that Joseph is not mentioned here would lead one to conclude that Joseph has in fact already died. Joseph's passing is never mentioned.
No, right.
We never hear again about Joseph after Jesus at the temple.
Right.
That's the last we hear of Joseph, and Joseph's passing is unmarked. But this passage, and especially the crucifixion,
Right.
where we have Jesus saying, woman, behold your son,
Yeah.
giving custody basically of Mary to John, because a woman needed to be cared for by a man. Don't look at me, I didn't make the rules, I'm just telling you that's how it was.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love you.
Right. No.
But
yeah.
that was how it had to happen. So Joseph, very likely at this point, and this is early in the ministry, right? Joseph, likely at this point, has already died. And that's why they named the brothers instead of the father.
Huh. Yeah, Kim was asking, doesn't the Jewish religion track family lines through the mother?
They do, but they always sort of, it's sort of an interesting dichotomy, because they do track your Jewish parentage through your mother's line, but you're known as the son of your father.
The carpenter's son.
Right,
Yeah.
the carpenter's son.
That is interesting.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Out of this, I see two messages, and correct me if I'm out of place on this, but the first one is that, like the residents of Nazareth, God stands amongst us every single day, and yet we miss him.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That he was amazed at their unbelief.
And the second one is for clergy like you. Your mission is to deliver souls to God, and you can't be distracted by the noise around you, as Jesus was not distracted by the noise around him. Those are the messages I get.
I would say you're right on the money, my brother.
Yeah.
Miss Rachel, welcome back, by the way.
Yeah.
Thank you. I was struck this time in this reading by the fact that Jesus said that he's without honor. He's not honored in his hometown, but he wasn't able to do a deed of power there, except then he laid his hands on a few sick people.
Yeah. Right.
And I'm saying, wait a second.
Just that little thing.
That he cured, I'm sure her family cared a lot.
Right.
So how come is that just sort of thrown out there in the middle of Mark?
So you can notice it.
Yes.
I noticed that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Keep in mind, especially in Mark, in all the Gospels, but most especially in Mark, everything's in there for a reason. And so that was there to kind of bump upon it. I did the very same thing.
Yep.
I was like, oh, just healed a few people.
Right.
No big deal.
Yeah.
To them, it's life-changing. Right? We just last week had the woman with the hemorrhages. If she could but touch the hem of his garment, her life was changed forever. And the people he healed here very much could have had the same experience, but Mark, for whatever reason, is like,
Or there was only a few.
old stuff.
Yeah.
That's right. He could not or would not. Miss Mary, and welcome back to you.
Thank you. Could he have just been comparing the large crowds that he did have compared to this small group? When he said just,
Don't know.
Right.
you know, it was just such a small,
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
intimate group, you might say, compared to thousands. I don't know.
Yeah.
Good question.
Right.
Nobody knows a good answer on that one.
No.
Kelly.
I was kind of thinking when she asked that, could it also be maybe Jesus choosing not to, for lack of a better way of putting it, cast his pearls before swine? Maybe he only did the little stuff because he knew they weren't gonna, that they were gonna find ways to discount him?
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
It's an interesting fact. So this story, many of the Bible stories are repeated in more than one of the four Gospels, right? There are a very small number that are in all four Gospels. Some are in 3, some are in 2. There are a few that are only in 1, but this one is repeated again. And it has a slightly different interpretation, where this one says, I gotta find it. All right, I can't find it, but I know it's here. And he could do no deeds of power among them.
Yeah.
The other gospel says, and he would do no deeds of power among them. Oh, okay. I knew that might change the tenor of the
One word,
room.
just change that whole sentence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This one says
Yeah.
he could do,
Right.
could do.
no. Right.
No.
So, the real question becomes then, was he prevented from doing them? Or did he choose not to do them?
Right.
Inquiring minds want to know.
I
Judy.
wondered if it's our understanding of this wording now, and maybe the original didn't have that connotation that we are putting on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really
Some
good point. We
termination.
talk about this from time to time. There's a danger in taking our 21st century American eyes and interpreting first century Palestine through that same lens. We have to kind of peel it back so that we can really try to understand what the intent was, and that helps us to understand what we can learn from it. Father Vince.
Yeah, Jesus' time, first century Jews lived approximately 40 years. And Jesus is in his early 30s when he's doing this ministry. Mary is probably, she was a teenager when God became incarnate. Joseph, a little bit older, might have been gone by now. It's not an unusual thing. If you average age is about 40, early 40s. We live a lot longer, most of us.
Yeah, I'm looking around the room going, this would be a pretty small crowd in ancient Palestine.
That's right. Right.
The statement that when I read it, and I'm still looking at it, and I think I kind of get it, but then again, when he's talking to the apostles about what they're going to be doing, don't take any money, don't take anything, just go out and do this work. And then he says, wherever you enter a house, stay there until you leave the place.
That doesn't make sense.
Yeah. Well, duh.
Yeah, right.
Well,
right. It's lost its
Place
translation.
is the town.
The town,
Yes.
yeah.
Not the house.
But let me unpack that a little bit too, because hospitality was a huge thing back then.
Okay.
And you were in that culture, you were sort of called upon to offer hospitality to anyone who wanted it, but only for 2 days. It's like fresh fish and relatives both start to stink after 2 days, right? So it's time to move on. And if you were well thought of and people really liked you, they would have been competing to have you as a guest under their roof. One of the interpretations of what Jesus is saying to the disciples is, don't let this go to your head. Don't fall into the trap of becoming minor celebrities. Find the first place that you go into, stay there the whole time, and do the work. Don't worry about the trappings. Don't worry about invitations to dinner parties and going to the synagogue and meeting with the rabbis. Just do the work.
So when you're there, you're there.
When you're there, you're there.
Right.
And don't bring 2 tunics. Don't carry a bag. Just carry a staff, because I'm going to provide.
Okay.
You're going to get what you need.
I think he even says something about it's like wear sandals. Well, yeah, okay. But he didn't say anything. It doesn't say don't take 2 pairs of sandals. But
They usually only owned one.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
Right.
don't, yeah, okay.
Leave your LL Bean boots at home. Right? Kelly.
Yeah, I was, from that very same part of the passage, I noticed the 2x2 part. And of course, the first thing you think of is Noah's Ark. But then I kind of dug a little deeper, and it's like they were both supported and held accountable
Yep.
by the other one.
Right?
Right. Right.
Yeah, it took us a while to figure that out. Now you should go out 2 by 2 and do anything 2 by 2.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a lot less scary to go into
Yes.
unusual situations if you've got a partner. Somebody who can share that fear, and you can lean on one another, and it does help a lot.
If any place will not welcome you and they refuse to hear you, shake off the dust from your feet, but that's like shake off the dust in your mind, in your head. Wouldn't that fall on the reluctant host since they didn't welcome him? Since they're a very welcoming population,
Right.
and here they don't welcome these strangers,
Right.
would the rest of the town or the village have looked askin at them?
But that's part of it, is what Jesus is saying is, look, if they won't hear you, then a real insult was to shake the dust off of your feet, so that I don't want any part of your town clinging to me. I am done with you, and I will take nothing from our encounter. That was a big insult.
Yeah.
And so Jesus is saying, if they won't listen to you, well, then insult them on the way out.
Yeah. As a testimony.
It's almost sort of
against
Monty
them.
Python-esque, right?
Right. Yes, humor.
Yes, ma'am.
In the message, he says it couldn't get over their stubbornness. He made a circuit of the other villages teaching. he just had it with their stubbornness, and
Right.
he knew he wasn't gonna go anyplace, with them, so just go.
Out.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anybody ever have the experience of coming home to your family after college?
Yeah.
College is sort of a formative time. You get a lot of learning. You do what you feel is a lot of maturing. And, you leave as a 17 or 18-year-old kid. You come home as a 22-year-old adult.
Right.
You know it all. And yet, your parents don't want to perceive you the same way that you think you should be perceived.
You still have to take out the
Right.
garbage.
You
Right.
still have to take out
Yeah.
the garbage.
Or you fall.
And you got to sleep
Right.
in your room
Yes.
with the Duran Duran posters on
That's
the wall.
right. You
Right?
fall back into old patterns.
I know I'm talking about you.
Yes.
And if you go out while you're staying at their home, you still have a curfew.
Oh, yeah.
Let
What
them
do you
know.
mean coming home at midnight? We shut the lights off in this house at 10 o'clock. Oh.
Right. But, yeah. But you fall,
9 o'clock. Sorry, Jim.
you fall back into your old patterns no matter how old you are. 'Cause
Right.
we just did that. We just went back to my parents' house and oof.
Yeah.
I never went to college, but my grandma is still like that, even though I never went to college. But since I'm 23, she lets me off the hook sometimes.
Good for her.
She tells me, don't come home drunk. But I do sometimes. It takes me 15 minutes to unlock the door. And a couple times they thought I was a burglar.
Oh, wow.
She warned me, don't come home drunk, but you can stay out as long as you want, just don't come home super drunk. Otherwise they were sleeping on the front porch.
Ah, there you go. Smart grandma.
Well, kind of like the disciples, right?
That's
I never
right.
mess with you.
No.
Well, okay. Okay. So Jesus apparently had somewhat of that same experience, right? He went home thinking, wow, look at all the things I've done. I'm kind of a big deal around here. And they were like, oh, no, you didn't, Jesus. Go clean up your room and take out the trash. And they go, wait,
Yeah.
what?
And the neighbor's like, I remember you when you
Right.
were Joseph's son. And
Oh, it's little
little
Jesus.
Jesus.
Kind of like he makes a beautiful shelf, but remember what he did in the kindergarten graduation?
Right.
Yeah. That's
So I think we all can
sticks with you.
have some frame of reference for that, right?
Right? Sticks with you.
Yeah. What else?
I do think, where he says prophets are not without honor except in their hometown and among their own kin in their old house, probably was a pretty sarcastic comment.
Yeah?
And funny.
Right.
Yeah, but it's true,
Yeah.
right?
Even to this day.
When we
Dorothy.
were talking about cultural references changing from Jesus' time to our time, it doesn't even take that long. I had my TV on the other day and a Gunsmoke, I think it was a Gunsmoke rerun came on. And there was actually a disclaimer that said there were outdated cultural references.
Oh, wow.
Disgrace and advise.
Wow, yeah.
I mean, that's my lifetime, which I realize is longer than a lot of people.
What? Right,
But,
yeah.
that's how rapidly
Right.
it has changed.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And we're looking back 2,000 years, not just 40.
We forget that sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah, we do tend to forget that. So what about the beginning? He began to teach in the Sabbath, and many who heard him were astounded. They said, where did this man get all this? What is this wisdom that has been given to him? What deed? Now this, note that, because you have a text in front of you, this one doesn't end with a question mark, this ends with an exclamation mark. What deeds of power are being done by his hands?
Yeah. Right. Okay. Yeah. Well, he went from a simple carpenter
Right.
to, wow, power.
But my point is, well, my question is
Yeah.
this. They start by going, holy cow, this guy's got lots of stuff. He's really wise. He's done these really great deeds of powers. But then they segue into what we've been talking about all morning. Isn't that just little old Jesus? You know, and they run him down, but they also knew. They heard him speak with wisdom and power. They knew that he had done these deeds of power, and still they did that. What's that all about?
Well, there were these big deal miracles, you know, like loaves and the fishes and, you know, Beatitudes and some of these other things where huge crowds saw something, and all that is just a little north of where Nazareth is. So, you know, the rumor from out of town must have been pretty big.
Yeah.
Bringing someone back to good health from poor health is not exactly a little thing.
Right, yeah.
It's one thing to be astonished, it's quite another to take offense at it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Couldn't it also be like, going back to that parent, like college student analogy? You know, you seen the report cards, you know they passed OChem, and you're bragging to all your friends about how smart your child is, but...
They're still your child.
Right. Yeah.
And you don't want them to feel uppity.
He's still from very humble background.
Right.
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 So maybe there's some jealousy in there, like someone was saying.
There could be.
You know, like, how can you think you're that good when you come from this? You're not. You don't come from anything that good. Or, you know, the human side, they didn't see the divine side yet. They only thought he was the carpenter's son, right?
Mary, does the message use the word astounded?
Oh, what does the message say, Mary?
The message use the word
Let's
astounded?
get back to that. Someone else can look it up. They're not talking today. That's why I'm not talking much.
Could it also kind of be like that parable of the crabs that drag each other back into the pot and all get cooked?
I don't know. I haven't heard that one.
I missed that parable.
Yeah, what's that one?
I know that parable.
Back down?
Well,
They drag
I mean,
him back
no,
down?
It's not in the Bible. It's a folk.
A folk
folk
tale?
story.
Oh, okay.
Folk tale.
Crabs go up and the other crabs pull them back down so no one ever escapes.
Oh, see? Yeah, take them back in. Huh.
This is where you
We do
came
sort of
from.
delight in tearing one another down, don't we?
I guess, yeah.
Right? It's almost like you can see the headline in the Nazareth Times. Local boy makes good, and we hate him for it.
Yeah.
Right?
There you go.
Right.
Skylar.
I feel like that goes with a lot of celebrities that have a pristine good image, but they find everything on the internet and talk bad things to try to pry them down.
Yes.
From,
Right.
And then the person either gets up really upset, they get depressed or whatever from it and turn into a different person just because of the comments somebody said.
Right. Yeah, our culture has always done that. We love to build up celebrities and idolize them, and then tear them down, and then rehabilitate them. And then in some cases do it again, and back and forth. And
Human nature.
I feel like I feel like in your guys' time, it wasn't that bad because you didn't really have mad technology like you do now.
Yeah.
But nowadays, it's like you have all this technology and kids are like babies. They go like this with their phone instead of going like this and stuff.
Right.
They know technology from a young age. And when they develop a Facebook, let's say a person's getting bullied, all their information can go out on anywhere, and they get tear down. They don't have to have a person in those schools and know everything.
Yeah.
Because back in your guys' time, you just had one person talk mean things to you.
usually it was a dinosaur.
Right.
Wow.
That Stegosaurus really had my number, and it was so frustrating.
It's true.
There was so much harassment,
Yeah.
from the time you're 4 or 5.
Right.
But
it's
you
not
didn't
all
have the
recorded.
internet, but people were stabbing you in the butt with a
Right.
towel and all this other
Right.
stuff.
Nowadays you have the internet, and it can go.
Yes. It can.
It is a thing.
And anything is recorded and can go out.
Just as much.
All right, my friends, we are
Yeah.
rapidly
True,
reaching the
Skylar.
9:30 hour here.
Your time, I love when she said that.
In your time, yes.
True,
I'm
right?
not trying to make you guys
No,
feel
it's true.
Too late. All right, that sound you're hearing, my friends, is my arteries hardening, which means that It's now 9:30, and we're going to prepare ourselves for our worship at 10. Thanks for being with us. God bless you.